Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reviews That Don't Matter with Jessica Hitt. My name is Jessica Hitt, and on today's episode, yes, you've read the title, you know we are talking about episode 3 and 4 of Fox's The Gifted. If you guys have not already seen, I did an episode 1 and 2 review, which was really not that, it wasn't like a recap or anything, it was just a straight review to see people, see how I liked it, to show you that maybe you should give it a try. And I am fully on board with this series. I really am. And from now on, I think I'm going to do episodic reviews and recaps every Tuesday. So expect that. Every Tuesday, you'll be getting the Gifted review as long as it's got an episode, a new episode. And honestly, I'm really happy so far with this series. And I'm really excited to be talking about it, quite honestly, because I have pretty much stopped watching a lot of superhero TV shows. I stopped watching the DC CW shows a while ago. Haven't really kept up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or any of that. I haven't tried Inhumans. I haven't seen Legion. And I have kind of been missing it for sure. And this one seems interesting enough to where I want to see a lot more of it. So now, expect spoilers, so we're going into 3 first, and then we'll go on to 4. And I'm not gonna lie, episode 3 worried me a little bit because pretty much nothing happened in this episode whatsoever, except for the fact that Dreamer, the redheaded lady who is in love with Blair Redford's character, who is Nighthawk, I believe. I'm still learning the names, so bear with me. I might get them wrong. She gave Blink, Jamie Chung's character, some memories to get her focus her powers so she could save them all, which is so wrong on so many levels. I'm glad it worked, but I feel like there was better ways to do this. Even just talking to her and be like, hey, I'm gonna give you some fake memories, don't be mad at me, but you gotta connect to something and you don't have anything to connect to, so don't be worried if all of a sudden you start having these weird dreams about this guy that you just met. And I find it interesting that the show is almost portraying Dreamer as a sort of antagonist in a way, when in reality this whole group of people should be all protagonists. So I think it's interesting that they kind of have portrayed her in that light, and I'm interested to see where it goes with that. And honestly, I just found this episode super annoying, mainly because of the mother, played by Amy Acker, who I liked in the first 2 episodes, and I was like, you know what, she's seeing how mutants are actually treated in this world, and it's not fair, the way that, she always thought it was fair. And then apparently this whole this entire episode was just about her relearning that and just seeing how much worse it could get. And it was so annoying. And it just it really sidetracked from what I think is the main storyline between the Mutant Underground and the government part of this, the Sentinel Services. And so I was a little worried because I loved the first episode. The second episode was pretty good. And then this third episode was not a fan of whatsoever. And I understand on a 22, 24 episode season, you're gonna get episodes where things just don't happen because that's just the way that network TV works. You can't have a perfect 22 episode season. It's just not possible, in my opinion. If there are, please note below, tell me which long form episodic TV that you've liked every single episode of the whole season. So episode 3 really got me worried, and it didn't give me enough of anything really. And then episode 4 delivered on all accounts. It's my new favorite episode. I think it trumps the premiere, which was really high. I mean, I would give the premiere 4 out of 5 stars. I give this episode a 5 out of 5 stars. Well, okay, a 4.75 out of 5 stars, quite honestly. I mean, it just, so things happened in this episode, and it started leading toward a major arc that I don't know if they're going for this arc, but it's leading towards something that it almost felt like the first 3 episodes were a little bit we don't know where we're going with this story, whereas now it might actually have a purpose to keep going on. And that is now that the main Strucker dad and Lorna, who is Polaris, are free and they're not in prison anymore. They've rejoined the Mutant Underground. And at the very end of the episode, the big bad guy, I still don't know his name, sorry, he's part of Sentinel Services. He says that he wants to raid every safe house, anyone that's ever been a sympathizer to mutants, and basically just start ambushing all these people. I feel like that could lead to a possible uprising of mutants and maybe a state of civil war in the United States, which would be incredibly interesting. Also, you're going to get so many different factions. It's not just going to be like mutants against Sentinel Services, government type. I mean, there's different types of mutant. There could be, we could find more of that brotherhood of the mutants, which if you don't know from the X-Men movies, the brotherhood was sort of Magneto's sort of group of people. He was like the opposite of the X-Men. So I'm assuming that there's an underground brotherhood, and they would come up and they might want to be a little bit more violent and try to take on a lot of these Sentinel Services, where the underground really just doesn't seem to really want to hurt anybody. They're sort of the X-Men of this universe, which we don't know if the X-Men even exist in this universe, like right at this moment in time. We know that they existed in the past, but nobody knows if they're still a thing. And that's what excites me about the next half of this first season, is where they're going to lead for that, because I have a feeling Strucker Family is going to stay with the Mutant Underground. I don't see why they wouldn't. And we have this sort of weird juxtaposition of the two kids, of, you know, the guy, the boy kind of being a little bit more reckless and like not worrying as much about endangering people, and his sister who, you know, she's a little bit more stable in that fact, and their powers really reflect that, which I think is nice. And I really like this episode because it used their powers together, and I really like that family. I do, and I want them to succeed, and I hope it doesn't like tear them apart, which probably will, but who knows. But my favorite part of this episode is when they were escaping that bus, and freaking Polaris just completely outdid herself and really just destroyed them in ways that like I've always wanted to see. But the only thing with that is it's almost, she could do that now every single time that she comes across these people, and disarm them by herself, really. So it's either a factor of how Sentinel Services is going to react to that, if they're going to get guns that are like made out of plastic and maybe something like that, to where she can't be as affected by it. And also, are the writers going to take it to where she's not going to be at every fight, so that way it's actually more of a fight and there's more stakes involved? Because if she's at every time that there's some big battle, she can take them out, because most things are made of metal when it comes to the government. But there is also that new mutant that I cannot remember the name of, that was friends with, I already forgot his name, Blair Redford's character, the strongman guy, Nighthawk. Oh God, I'm so bad. Anyway, his character, his old best friend who we thought was dead, who has the ability to depower mutants and other things as well. And it's really fascinating to wonder is he working with the Sentinel Services on his own accord? Has he been brainwashed the old-fashioned way, or is he being like mind controlled by Sentinel Services? And I think it's really interesting in the fact that we don't know if Sentinel Services is using other mutants as well. Like, is this the only one, or do they actually have a whole like subsection of mutants that work for them, that either they're brain controlling, or they're brainwashed, or they're doing it on their own accords for some reason? Wouldn't know why, but I mean, I can see how maybe Sentinel Services can twist what happened and them just like leaving him behind when he was shot for dead in the flashback from the first part of the episode. Like, I can kind of see how that might work. I'm kind of hoping it has something to do with that tattoo. Like, the tattoo is like controlling him in a way. I think that would be a little bit more interesting than like a brainwashing. But I mean, either way, I'm pretty stoked about that storyline, like to see what they do. I guess the thing I didn't care much for, or that you know what, it wasn't like a low part of the episode, but it worries me going forward, like where they're gonna take it, is the entire thing with the cartel. I forget his name, but the one that has the light that comes out of him and his blood is like really bright. The one that is in love with Polaris, the father of her unborn child. Anyway, he goes back to his old life to get some information to see where the caravan is going so they can ambush it to save Polaris and the Strucker dad. And his like ex-girlfriend is now the cartel leader, and now he's kind of in with them, and like she's basically like, hey, every time I call you, you need to come and help out, which is gonna get a little sticky, and I'm really interested to see how it comes, because I'm wondering if the cartel has more mutants working for her, for them, than we know, because in reality, like, if it came down to it, Cartel versus the Mutant Underground, I have a feeling the Mutant Underground's gonna win, but never underestimate cartels. Like, they're incredibly dangerous, and I'm not necessarily excited to see where it goes, but I'm interested to see where it goes, because it could be really interesting, but I mean, it could get very tiresome. The same way as I was a little worried that it was going to be all about being on the run type of thing, like that's just going to get a little boring after a while. I don't necessarily want this cartel storyline to go on too long. Or maybe, because I really liked that lead actress that played the cartel leader. I thought she was like super dynamic. I thought she worked as a cartel leader, like it was believable. Maybe she's just a character that keeps popping up every once in a while. I think that would be fun. But it does worry me just a tiny bit, and I don't know exactly why, but it does. And one other thing I'm very interested. It kind of goes back to what I started on with Dreamer giving Blink that memory of the guy. Oh, I cannot remember his name. Red Hawk, Nighthawk, something like that, right? I might be completely wrong. Who knows? Firebird? No. Please, if somebody remembers, can you comment down below? For some reason, his name is always the hardest for me to like remember from the first episode on. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, I'm interested to see what kind of happens with that whole thing. Like, is she able to take memories away as well? Or I want to know the backstory of these mutants that have felt her effect before that did not end well, that was hinted on last episode in episode 3. Like, I want to know that. And I don't know, does it like make them crazy in a way? Or does it become stronger as it happens? And they're like, I don't know. Also, I will say, I've been really enjoying the flashback structure that they have beginning each episode since the second episode, even though episode 3 flashback where we saw Polaris and her boyfriend kiss for the first time, kind of like start to fall in love. That was a little cheesy with the Aurora Borealis thing. It was kind of like, it was neat in the way that like, that's how the Aurora Borealis happens with like the metal and the light or whatever. But it was cheesy. But I really liked this one. It was kind of, the one for episode 4 was, it introduced that one mutant that can take away powers that we didn't know of at the very beginning. We just assumed he was dead, and then all of a sudden he's alive, and I liked it. And if you watch my videos, you know that I'm not necessarily like, I don't like it when characters die and come back a lot. Very few times does it like really work. Westworld being one of them because they're robots. But for the most part, I dislike that trope. But I like this because it wasn't a character that was so, we didn't know the character, so we didn't really feel anything when he died. And so now that he's alive, maybe this possibility of getting him out of there and trying to refocus him and get him back in the underground, even if he dies later, it would mean more then. So that's why it doesn't bug me as much. Also, I just like this idea that the Sentinel Services could be possibly using mutants, or more mutants in this one, because that's just, it's kind of hypocritical in a way, but it's so interesting. Okay, you guys, I hope you liked my review. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what are your thoughts on the series so far. Also, please remind me of the names that I have been messing up or keep forgetting. Please do. I'm okay if you correct me because I'm still learning. I don't know a lot of these characters. The only one I know really is Polaris, who I'm so excited is like the best character in the show, in my opinion. She's my favorite. Can't wait to see what they do with her. I'm so excited that we got a Polaris on screen because I've been begging that for years, and I always thought we were going to get it in Days of Future Past or Apocalypse, but we didn't, and now I get a really good one. So very happy, very, very happy. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I make videos Monday through Friday. Sometimes I miss a day. I'm tired, and I like to sleep, and sometimes it's hard to keep up. Okay, give me a break, please. Anyway, subscribe. I need the followers. Bye.